Okay, so I mentioned in the last live that my computer just died in the middle of reading, which I kind of knew that was going to happen because the laptop was dying. Um, every time I try to read this book, the book of Isaiah, something comes up. Something distracts me. Life happens. Something happens, or I just somehow get distracted. But we're going to read this book, and I don't care how many times it takes me to jump on here live, or if anybody's watching or not. We're going to read this book. Welcome back, Palmetto Paratrooper, Divinely Blessed Design. Sorry, guys. Yeah, we're experiencing lots of, I'm not going to get into it, but boy, the last week or so, I've been tested, I'll tell you. But we're going to get right back into the word. I'm tempted to just start over because last live stream was such a mess. But I think I'm just going to start in chapter 3, where we were only like 16 verses or something like that into chapter 3. So we'll just start back at chapter 3. Maybe I'll take the first video and edit it with this video, and it'll become just I'll take down the lives and make one video out of both videos or something like that. So it's listenable, so that people, so it's not like watching my life, which is not as entertaining as listening to the word. Anyways, sharing my screen. Appreciate you guys coming back for round 2. It's been a few minutes since you've been here. Yeah, SHK. Welcome back. All right, so I got my screen shared there. We are going to start back at the top of chapter 3. And yeah. Big deep breath. Let's do this. Chapter 3. For look, the Master Yahweh of hosts is turning aside from Jerusalem and from Yehuda, the stock and the store, all the supply of bread and all the supply of water, the mighty man and the man of battle, the judge and the prophet, and the diviner and the elder, the commander of 50 and the highly respected, and the counselor and the skilled craftsman, and the clever enchanter. And I shall make youths their heads, and children shall rule over them. And the people shall exert pressure, man on his neighbor. The young rise up against the older, and the lightly esteemed against the highly esteemed. When a man takes hold of his brother in the house of his father by the garment and says, Come, be a chief over us, and let this ruin be under your hand. He shall swear in that day, saying, I am not a healer, for in my house is neither bread nor garment. Do not make me a chief of the people, for Jerusalem has stumbled, and Yehuda has fallen, because their tongue and their doings are evil, are against Yahweh, to provoke the eyes of his esteem. The look on their faces witnesses against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to their being, for they have brought evil upon themselves. Say to the righteous, it is well, for they eat the fruit of their doings. Woe to the wrong, evil, for the reward of his hand is done to him. My people, youths exert pressure on them, and women rule over them. O my people, your leaders lead you astray, and swallow the way of your paths. Yahweh shall stand up to plead, and is standing to judge the peoples. Yahweh enters into judgment with the elders of his people and its heads. It is you who have eaten up the vineyard. The plunder of the poor is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor? Declares the Master, Yahweh of hosts. And Yahweh says, because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and walk with outstretched necks and seductive eyes, walking and mincing as they go, making a jingling with their feet. Therefore Yahweh shall smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Sion, and Yahweh expose their nakedness. In that day Yahweh takes away the finery of the anklets and the headbands and the crescents, the pendants, the bracelets and the veils, the headdresses and the leg ornaments, and the sashes and the perfume bottles and the amulets, the rings and the nose jewels, the costly robes and the cloaks and the shawls and the purses, the mirrors and the fine linen and the turbans and the large veils. And it shall be, instead of a sweet fragrance, a smell of decay, and instead of a belt, a rope, and instead of well set hair, baldness, and instead of vestal robes, a girding of sackcloth, and branding instead of loveliness. Your men shall fall by the sword, and your strength in battle. And her gates shall lament and mourn, and she deserted shall sit on the ground. Just like I thought. My microphone didn't even... Not even happening. Telling you. All right. You guys can hear me okay, right? Let me know. We'll just keep on going. Thumbs up. I think I got a massive delay. Okay, good. Right on. Awesome. Thanks, guys. In that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we shall eat our own food and wear our own clothes, and let us be called by your name to take away our reproach. In that day the branch of Yahweh shall be splendid and esteemed, and the branch of the earth shall be excellent and comely for the escaped ones of Israel. And it shall be that he who is left in Sion and he who remains in Jerusalem is called set apart, everyone who is written among the living in Jerusalem. When Yahweh has washed away the filth of the daughters of Sion, and rinsed away the blood of Jerusalem from her midst, by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning, then Yahweh shall create above every dwelling place of Mount Sion, and above her gatherings, a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night. For over all the esteem shall be a covering, and a booth for shade in the daytime from the heat, for a place of refuge, and for a shelter from storm and rain. Please let me sing to the one I love, a song for my loved one regarding his vineyard. My loved one has a vineyard on a fertile hill, and he dug it up and cleared it of stones and planted it with the choicest vines, and built a watchtower in the midst, and also made a winepress in it. And he waited for the yielding of grapes, but it yielded rotten ones. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and man of Yehuda, please judge between me and my vineyard. What more could have been done to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Why, when I waited for the yielding of grapes, did it yield rotten ones? And now, please let me inform you what I am doing to my vineyard, to take away its hedge, and it shall be burned, to break down its walls, and it shall be trampled down. And I lay it waste. It is not pruned or dug, and thorn bushes and weeds shall come up, and I command the clouds not to rain on it. For the vineyard of Yahweh of hosts is the house of Israel, and the man of Yehuda is his pleasant plant. He looked for right ruling, but see oppression, for righteousness, but see weeping. Woe to those who join house to house, who add field to field, until there is no room, and you are made to dwell alone in the midst of the land. In my hearing, Yahweh of hosts said, truly many houses shall be a waste, big and fine ones, without inhabitant. For 10 acres of vineyard yield one bath, and an omer of seed yields 1 ephah. Woe to those who rise early in the morning, pursuing strong drink, who stay up late at night. Wine inflames them. And the lyre and the harp, the tambourine and flute, and wine are in their feasts. But they do not regard the deeds of Yahweh, nor seek the work of his hands. Therefore my people have gone into exile, because they have no knowledge, and their esteemed men are starved, and their crowd dried up with thirst. Therefore Sheol has made itself wide, and opened its mouth without law. Their splendor and their crowd and their uproar, and he who is exulting within her shall go down into it. And man is bowed down, and mortal man humbled, and the eyes of the proud are humbled. But Yahweh of hosts is exalted in judgment, and the set apart El is set apart in righteousness. And the lambs shall feed in their pasture, and the strangers shall eat in the waste places of the fat ones. Woe to those who draw crookedness with cords of falsehood, and sin as with wagon ropes, who are saying, let him hurry, let him hasten his work, so that he sees it, and let the counsel of the set apart one of Israel draw near to come, so that we know. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. Woe to the mighty, woe to the mighty to drink wine, and brave men to mix strong drink, who declare right and the wrong for a bribe, and the righteous for the right, and the righteousness of the righteous they turn aside from him. Therefore, as a tongue of fire devours the stubble, and the flame consumes the chaff, their root is as rottenness, and their blossom goes up like dust, because they have rejected the Torah of Yahweh of hosts, and despised the word of the set apart one of Israel. Therefore, the displeasure of Yahweh has burned against his people, and he stretches out his hand against them, and strikes them, and the mountains tremble, and their carcass is as filth in the middle of the streets. With all this, his displeasure has not turned back, but his hand is still stretched out. And he shall lift up a banner to the nations from afar, and shall whistle to them from the end of the earth, and see, they come with speed, swiftly. Not one of them is weary or stumbling, not one slumbers or sleeps. Not a belt shall be loosened on their loins, nor the thongs of their sandals be broken. Their arrows are sharp, and all their bows bent. Their horses' hooves shall seem like flint, and their wheels like a whirlwind. Their roar is like that of a lion. They roar like young lions, and they growl and seize prey, and slip away with no one to rescue. And in that day they shall growl over it, as with the growling of the sea, and no one shall look at the earth, and see darkness and distress, and light shall be darkened by the clouds. Chapter 6. In the year that sovereign Uzziah died, I saw Yahweh sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the Hekal. Above it stood seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one cried to another and said, set apart, set apart, set apart, or holy is Yahweh of hosts. All the earth is filled with his esteem. And the posts of the door were shaken by the voice of him who cried out, and the house was filled with smoke. And I said, woe to me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the sovereign Yahweh of hosts. And one of the seraphim flew to me, having in his hand a live coal, which he had taken with the tongs from the slaughter place. And he touched my mouth with it and said, see, this has touched your lips. Your crookedness is taken away, and your sin is covered. And I heard the voice of Yahweh saying, whom do I send, and who would go for us? And I said, here am I, send me. And he said, go, and you shall say to this people, hearing you hear, but you do not understand, and seeing you see, but you do not know. Make the heart of this people fat, and their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and shall turn and be healed. Then I said, Yahweh, until when? And he answered, until the cities are laid waste and without inhabitant, and the houses are without a man, and the land is laid waste, a ruin. And Yahweh has removed men far away, and the forsaken places be many in the midst of the land. But still there is a tenth part in it, and it shall again be for a burning, like a terebinth tree, and like an oak, whose stump remains when it is cut down. The set apart seed is its stump. Chapter 7. And it came to be in the days of Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, sovereign of Yehudah, that Rezin, sovereign of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, sovereign of Israel, went up to Jerusalem to fight against it, but could not prevail against it. And it was reported to the house of David, saying, Aram has set up a camp in Ephraim. And his heart and the heart of his people were moved as the trees of the forest are moved with the wind. And Yahweh said to Yeshayahu, that's to Isaiah, go out now to meet Ahaz, you and She'ar Yashub, your son, at the end of the channel of the upper pool, on the highway of the launderer's field, and say to him, take heed and be calm, not fear or be faint-hearted, for these two stubs of smoking firebrands, for the fierce displeasure of Rezin and Aram, and the son of Remaliah, because Aram, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have plotted evil against you, saying, let us go up against Yehudah and tear it apart, and break it open for ourselves, and set a sovereign over them, and the son of Tabael. Thus said the Master Yahweh, it is not going to stand, nor shall it take place. For the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and within 65 years Ephraim is to be broken as a people, and the head of Ephraim is Shamaron, and the head of Shamaron is the son of Remaliah. If you do not believe, you are not steadfast. And Yahweh spoke again to Ahaz, saying, shh. Sorry, he didn't say that. And Yahweh spoke again to Ahaz, saying, ask a sign for yourself from Yahweh, your Elohim. Make deep the request, or make it high. But Ahaz said, I do not ask, nor try Yahweh. And he said, hear now, O house of David. Is it not enough that you weary men, that you weary my Elohim also? Open the door, that is extremely disrupting. What's up? Go ask your mom, okay? Verse 13. And he said, hear now, O house of David, is it not enough that you weary men, that you weary my Elohim also? Therefore Yahweh himself gives you a sign. Look, the Alma conceives and gives birth to a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. He eats curds and honey when he knows. So this is obviously speaking of our Messiah. He eats curds and honey when he knows to refuse evil and choose the good. For before the child knows to refuse evil and choose the good, the land that you dread is to be forsaken by both their kings. I don't really like the word sovereigns. I don't know why, but kings is more like understandable, so I might translate that to kings going forward. Yahweh brings on you and your people and your father's house days that have not come since the day of Ephraim turned away from Yehudah, the kings of Ashur. And it shall be in that day that Yahweh whistles for the fly that is in the farthest part of the rivers of Mitzrayim, and for the bee that is in the land of Ashur. And they shall come, and all of them shall rest in the steep ravines and in the clefts of the rocks, and on all weeds and all pastures. In that day Yahweh shall shave with a razor hired beyond the In that day Yahweh shall shave with a razor hired beyond the river with the kings of Ashur, the heads and the hair of the legs, and also remove the beard, which is a shame. Just so if you're not picking up on that, it's a shame to have your beard removed. Verse 21, and it shall be in that day that a man keeps, that's totally like not the point of what we're reading, sorry. And it shall be in that day that a man keeps alive a young cow and 2 sheep, and it shall be that he shall eat curds because of the plenty milk he gets. For everyone left in the land shall eat curds, and it shall be in that day every place where there were 1,000 vines and it shall be in that day every place where there were 1,000 vines worth 1,000 shekels of silver. Let it be for thorn bushes and weeds. With arrows and bows one shall go there, because all the land shall be thorn bushes and weeds. And to all the hills which were tilled with the hoe, you do not go for fear of thorn bushes and weeds, but it shall be for sending oxen to, and a place for sheep to roam. I'll jump over here and make sure that still got, okay. I know, Dad. He's awesome. I don't know if you could hear, but he was opening the door really slowly, and it was like, and the dogs were like freaking out because it was sketchy. You know, something's going on sketchy. So, sorry. It was just like, that's distracting. Okay. We're still here. Good deal. I'll get back into the word now. Sorry, guys. Chapter 8. And Yahweh said to me, take a large tablet and write on it with a man's pen concerning Meir Shalal Hashbaz. And let me take reliable witnesses to record Uriah the priest and Zechariah son of Zeberkiahu. And I went to the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son. And Yahweh said to me, call his name Maher-Shalal Hashbaz. For before the child knows to cry, my father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the spoil of Shamaron is taken away before the king of Ashur. And Yahweh spoke to me again, saying, inasmuch as these people refused the waters of Shiloh that flow softly, and rejoice in Retzin and in Remaliah's son. Now therefore, see, Yahweh brings up over them the waters of the river, strong and mighty, the sovereign of Ashur, and his esteem. And he shall come up over all his channels, and go over all his banks. And he shall pass through Yehudah. He shall overthrow and pass over, reaching up to the neck. And the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of your land, O Emmanuel. Be shattered, O you peoples, and be broken in pieces. Give ear, all you from the far places of the earth. Gird yourselves, but be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, but be broken in pieces. Take counsel, and it comes to nothing. Speak a word, and it does not stand, for El is with us. For Yahweh spoke thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, Do not say a conspiracy concerning all that this people call a conspiracy, nor be afraid of their threats, nor be troubled. Yahweh of hosts, him you shall set apart. Let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he shall be for a set apart place, but a stone of stumbling and a rock that makes for falling to both the house of Israel, as a trap and a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many among them shall stumble and fall, and be broken and snared and taken. Bind up the witness, seal the Torah among my taught ones, and I shall wait on Yahweh, who hides his face from the house of Jacob, and I shall look for him. Look, I and the children whom Yahweh has given me, for signs and wonders in Israel, for Yahweh of hosts, from Yahweh of hosts, who dwells in Mount Zion. And when they say to you, Seek those who are mediums and wizards, who whisper and mutter, should not a people seek their Elohim? Should they seek the dead on behalf of the living? To the Torah and to the witness, if they do not speak according to this word, it is because they have no daybreak or no light. And they shall pass through it hard pressed and hungry, and it shall be when they are hungry that they shall be wroth and curse their kings and their Elohim, their king and their Elohim, looking upward. And they shall look to the earth and see distress and darkness, gloom of hard times, and be driven into thick darkness. Chapter 9. But there is no gloom upon her who is distressed, as when at first he humbled the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward more heavily oppressed her by the way of the sea beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the nations. The people who were walking in darkness have seen a great light. Upon those who dwelt in the land of the shadow of death, a light has shone. You shall increase the nation, you shall make its joy great. They shall rejoice before you, as in the joy of harvest, as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For you shall break the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. For every boot of one trampling in tumult and coat rolled in blood, for every boot of one trampling in tumult and coat rolled in blood shall be used for burning and fuel of fire. For a child is born unto us, a son is given unto us, and the rule is on his shoulder, and his name is called Wonderful Counselor, Strong El, Father of Continuity, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his rule and the peace there is no end. Oh no, what did I do? Of the increase of his rule and the peace there is no end, upon the throne of David and over his reign, to establish it and sustain it with right ruling and with righteousness from now on and forever. The ardor of Yahweh of hosts does this. Yahweh sent a word against Jacob, and it has fallen on Israel. And the people shall know, all of them, Ephraim and the inhabitants of the Shomron, who say in pride and greatness of heart, the bricks have fallen down. But we rebuild with hewn stones. The sycamores are cut down, but we replace them with cedars. This reminds me of The Harbinger. My dad, you know what I'm talking about. The Harbinger by Jonathan Cahn. Verse 11. And Yahweh set up the adversaries of Retzin against him and stirred up his enemies. The Arameans before stirred up his enemies, the Arameans, before the Philistines before the Arameans before and the Philistines behind, and they devour Israel with an open mouth. With all this, his displeasure has not turned back, and his hand is still stretched out. And the people have not turned back to him who strikes them, nor have they sought Yahweh of hosts. And Yahweh cuts off the head and tail from Israel, palm branch and reed in one day. Elder and highly respected, he is the head. The prophet who teaches falsehood, he is the tail. For the leader of this people lead them astray, and those who are guided by them are swallowed up. Therefore, Yahweh does not rejoice over their young men, and has no compassion on their fatherless and widows. For everyone who is defiled and evil, and every mouth speaks foolishness. With all this, his displeasure has not turned back, and his hand is still stretched out. For wrongness burns as a fire; it consumes thorn bushes and weeds, and sets the bushes of the forest ablaze, and they roll up their rising smoke. The land shall be burned up by the wrath of Yahweh of hosts, and the people be as fuel for the fire. A man shall not spare his brother, and cut down on the right hand, but shall be hungry, and he devours on the left hand, but shall not be satisfied, each one devouring the flesh of his own arm. Manasseh, Ephraim, and Ephraim, Manasseh, together they are against Judah. With all this, his displeasure has not turned back, and his hand is still stretched out. Woe to those, chapter 10, making righteous inscriptions and writers who have prescribed toil, to keep the needy back from right ruling, and to take what is right from the poor of my people, that widows become their prey, and orphans their plunder. What shall you do in the day of visitation, and in the ruin which comes from afar? To whom would you run for help, and where would you leave your wealth? Without me they shall bow down among prisoners, and fall among the killed. With all this, his displeasure has not turned back, and his hand is still stretched out. Woe to Ashur, not Asher, but Ashur, different. The rod of my displeasure, and the staff in whose hand is my displeasure. Against a defiled nation I send him, and against the people of my wrath. I command him to seize the spoil, to take the prey, to tread them down like the mud of the streets. But he does not intend so, nor does his heart think so, for it is in his heart to destroy and cut off not a few nations. For he says, are not my princes kings? Is not Calno like Carchemish? Is not Hamath like Arpad? Is not Shamaron like Damascus? As my hand has found the reins of the idols, whose carved images excel those of Jerusalem and Shamaron. As I have done to Shamaron and her idols, do I not do also to Jerusalem and her idols? And it shall be when Yahweh has performed all his work on Mount Sion and on Jerusalem, that I shall punish the fruit of the greatness of the heart of the sovereign of Ashur, and the boasting of his haughty looks. For he has said, by the power of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I have been clever, and I removed the boundaries of the people, and have robbed their treasuries, and I put down the inhabitants like a strong one. And my hand finds the riches of the people like a nest, and I have gathered all the earth like forsaken eggs are gathered. And there is no one who moved his wing, nor opened his mouth with even a peep. Would the axe boast itself over him who chops with it, or the saw exalt himself over him who saws with it? As a rod waving those who lift it up, as a staff lifting up that which is not wood. Therefore the master, Yahweh of hosts, sends leanness among his fat ones, and under his esteem he kindles a burning like a burning of a fire. And the light of Israel shall be for a fire, and is set apart one for a flame, and it shall burn and devour his weeds and his thorn bushes in one day, and consume the esteem of his forest and of his fertile field, both life and flesh. And they shall be as when a sick man wastes away, and the remaining trees of the forest shall be so few in number that a child records them. And in that day it shall be that the remnant of Israel and those who have escaped of the house of Jacob never again lean upon him who struck them, but shall lean upon Yahweh, the set apart one of Israel, in truth. A remnant shall return, the remnant of Jacob, to the mighty El. For though your people, O Israel, be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. A decisive end overflowing with righteousness. For the Master Yahweh of hosts is making a complete end as decided in the midst of all the earth. This is something interesting, right? For though your people, O Israel, be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. So for those who believe that everyone that is Israel, I don't know. It doesn't seem to line up with what Scripture actually says. Verse 24, therefore, thus said the Master Yahweh of hosts, my people who dwell in Sidon, be not afraid of Ashur, who struck you with a rod and lifts up his staff against you in the way of Mitzrayim. For yet a little while, and the displeasure shall be completed, and my displeasure be to their destruction. And Yahweh of hosts stirs up a lash for him, as the smiting of Midian at the rock of Oreb. And as his rod was on the sea, so shall he lift it up in the way of Mitzrayim. And in that day it shall be that his burden is removed from your shoulder, and his yoke from your neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing oil. He has come upon Aiath, he has passed Migron. At Michmash he stored his supplies. They have gone through the pass, they have taken up lodging at Geba. Ramah is afraid, Geba of Shaul has fled. Lift up your voice, O daughter of Galium. Listen, Laisha, O poor Anathoth. Madmena has fled. The inhabitants of Gabim sought refuge. Yet he remains at Nob that day. He shakes his fist at the mountain of the daughter of Sion, the hill of Jerusalem. Look, the Master Yahweh of hosts is lopping off a branch with an awesome crash, and the tall ones are cut down, and the lofty ones are laid low. And he shall cut down the thickets of the forest with iron, and Lebanon shall fall as a mighty one. Chapter 11. All right, going to stop sharing. Chapter 11 is where we're going to pick up on Friday. And probably I'm going to read live Friday evening. Probably around, I'm going to say 4 o'clock. I want to go 4 o'clock. So I want to start before it's Shabbat, and then we'll bring in Shabbat together at the end, and that way I can be done, with the computer stuff. I like to pack it up and unplug for Shabbat. So I don't want to be doing this into the evening, if you know what I mean. So I'm gonna see what we got? Who we got in the chat? Hooter and Taurus, shalom, brother. Deborah Lockwood, shalom. Palmetto Paratrooper, shalom, 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 everybody. And yeah, man. Okay, so while I got you guys on here, bear with me. Okay, this is something that my dad shared with me, and man, is it good. I'm on another screen right now, so I can't see anything, but I'm going to find this video. It's on my watch later list, so let me go to that. Bow, 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 bow. Oh, there it is. Oops. All right, let's see if I can share this. This is so good, you guys. Oh man, so good. I'm gonna share my screen. Window. One second. I'll figure this out real quick. Don't worry. All right. Close that out. Close that out. All right. I think I just need to separate that. Now I got it. Okay. All right. Here we go. This is good stuff right here. Share. All right. You see that? I think you can. All right. I'm going to go full screen on that one. Oops. Full screen. Maybe not. Maybe not full screen. Oh well. That should be good enough. Well, bless you. Yeah, the Father's timing is perfect. So this book has, man, we're gonna have to be diligent to get through this one. I can tell you, because for some reason the enemy doesn't want me spending time in this book. All right. What am I doing? That's not it. What's going on? I'm not good at doing internet stuff, guys. Okay, there we go. I'm going to push play. Let's listen to this. Okay. This is a real long video, and I'm going to do. Oh, you can't hear him. Okay, so here we go. Check it out. Can you hear me? I'm going to put this in the chat. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll have to. My mic wasn't plugged in. This is all. Pam Dauber, shalom. Anyways, check out that link that I just posted in there. It's an awesome video. It's the kind of stuff that Lucia and I have been thinking about over the last several years, where the whole world is getting crazy, and we're feeling the pressure of think our time to set up infrastructure for food stores, for whatever it is, munitions, this, that, water, you know what I mean? Everything. But it's basically talking about how we can get prepared spiritually. And spiritual preparedness is like by far like one of the most important messages that I feel like I need to dive into deeper with you guys. So, but anyways, this is gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna jump off here. I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow around 4 o'clock. Have a good night, and thanks again for listening as we read through the Bible together. Shalom.